Assigned seating is finally here at Southwest Airlines, and I had the opportunity to fly on one of their very first flights with the new system to check it out. What's the new boarding process like, and what's the experience like on board? Join me on a quick hop to Chicago Midway to find out. Starting January 27, 2026, Southwest Airlines has officially transitioned from open seating to assigned seating, while also activating their new extra legroom product. Prior to that, Southwest's open seating and boarding process involved checking in exactly 24 hours prior to departure to receive a boarding position. Depending on your status and check-in time, you were assigned an A, B, or C boarding group along with the number 1 through 60. When your group was called, you'd line up at the podium and choose any available seat once on board. Families with small children would board between the A and B groups within family boarding, and A-list preferred customers would also board during this time. Southwest has operated with open seating for over half a century, excluding a small assigned seating trial in 2006. However, over the past decade or so, passengers have gotten really good at cheating the system. People pretending they have disabilities to board first, entire extended families trying to board together during family boarding when they're not supposed to, people saving seats, and line cutters were all issues that began to become more prominent. On TikTok and other social media sites, people would make hack videos encouraging others to lie and request pre-boarding for disability reasons despite not having a disability, like this individual right here.
Hey look, if you like me and you really only fly Southwest when you do fly, stop scrolling right now. I got a hack for you. Let me teach you how you can board early and board first every time on every Southwest flight. It works 100% of the time. You want to go right up to the customer service desk and you want to tell them that you need a pre-boarding pass, okay? They're going to ask you if you need assistance or do you need specialty seating. You're going to always say that you don't need assistance, you just want specialty seating. They'll ask you if you got anybody with you, and usually if you got like one person with you, sometimes maybe two, they'll let you bring that one person on as well. They're going to collect your information, and then they're going to give you a pre-boarding pass, and then when they call for pre-boarding, you board early every single time. Works 100% of the time, all right? Share it with a friend, follow me for more hacks. I got you.
I do find it a little funny, this guy in particular says, if you aren't seeking God, we can't be cool, yet in the same breath encourages people to lie about having a disability to abuse the system. Like, yeah, okay buddy, whatever you say. Side comment to ensure my point is clear, not all disabilities are visible, and if you're someone who actually needs pre-boarding, then you absolutely should have it, and I have no issue with that. However, people like the individual from TikTok that I showed you earlier have somewhat ruined the fairness of open seating, especially if someone purchases upgraded boarding only to see that 10 to 20 people will board before them in pre-board and take all the good seats. For the past year or so, passengers could also sit in the extra legroom seats for free, since they weren't officially for sale or in use yet. While it was nice that you could snag one of these seats for free, it did give another incentive for people to try to cheat the system to board first and snag one of these seats. As of today, that process has changed, though in some ways it's still similar. You no longer need to check in exactly 24 hours before your flight. Instead, depending on your seat assignment and airline status, you'll board in one of 8 groups. Similar to the old system, passengers still line up on either side of the podium beneath the screen announcing the current boarding position. Though, one notable difference is that passengers who require pre-boarding now have a dedicated lane off to the side. Southwest Airlines is also using Wilma style boarding, that's window, middle, aisle, to kind of speed up the process. So, depending on what type of seat you have specifically, you may find yourself in an earlier or later boarding group. This is a very similar setup to what United Airlines uses in their turn times and boarding process. When I arrived at the Atlanta airport for my morning departure, there was a noticeable sense of excitement amongst both passengers and Southwest employees. Later in the day, the Southwest employees of Atlanta had a DJ playing music, little celebrations, and gifts to give to the passengers. From asking several Southwest employees themselves, they overwhelmingly were excited to move to assigned seating and did not like operating with assigned seating, with some of them absolutely hating it. The new boarding and seating process is more streamlined, and your mobile boarding pass now clearly shows your boarding group, your assigned seat, and what type of seat it is, whether that be window, middle, aisle, or extra legroom. Since I booked an extra legroom seat, I was assigned to Group 2. There were no pre-boards on this flight at all, and no reward members in Group 1, so I ended up being the first person on board. Interestingly enough, I flew this exact same flight about a week earlier to experience and capture footage of open seating one last time, and there were about 10 to 12 pre-boards on that flight. This time, there were no pre-boards. Stepping aboard the aircraft, not much is really different. My first flight was aboard November 8960 Lima, a 6-month-old Boeing 737 MAX. This aircraft still had the Collins Meridian seats as opposed to the newer Recaro ones. If you'd like to see a more in-depth review of Southwest's extra legroom seats and their new cabin design, you can see my video review linked in the description. Boarding itself was very straightforward, though a few passengers were clearly unsure about where they were supposed to sit. Surprisingly, there's a sizable group of Southwest customers who have never flown other airlines or experienced assigned seating before, so for some, this was a genuine adjustment. Boarding wrapped up about 10 minutes early and the cabin crew prepared for departure. Now, you're probably wondering, if there are open seats around the cabin, can you switch seats and move around? No. Well, sort of. On both of my flights, the flight attendants were very adamant that seat changes shouldn't be happening, since that's the whole point of assigned seating. Anyone who wanted to move had to notify them first so they could update the passenger log on their work iPads and keep track of who was sitting where. If a passenger did want to move, they could only do so within their fare class. For example, someone seated in the extra legroom section could move to another open extra legroom seat. However, passengers seated in standard economy towards the back were not permitted to move into extra legroom or preferred seats, regardless of availability. This surprised a few people on my flights, though this policy is very standard and normal practice for nearly every airline worldwide. As for overhead bin space, I didn't have any issues at all, especially since this aircraft was equipped with newer Boeing BSI space bins. The first bin or two were occupied by crew bags and safety equipment, but there was still plenty of room for passenger carry-ons. Soon enough, it was time for pushback and departure to Chicago. Once airborne, the cabin crew came through to take drink orders and distribute snacks, with extra legroom passengers being served first. In addition to the standard cinnamon cookies and pretzels, pistachios were available exclusively to the extra legroom passengers, along with complimentary alcoholic beverages. The drink selection was standard and the service was perfectly fine. I used the free onboard Wi-Fi for most of the flight and was pleasantly surprised by the speeds. Southwest's newer Viasat Wi-Fi performs quite well. It's really just the older Anuvu-equipped aircraft that lag behind, though those planes are either being upgraded or retired. I covered the extra legroom seating in more detail in a previous review, but to quickly summarize, these seats offer 34 inches of pitch along with an adjustable headrest and foldable wings. I'm about 6'1" and I had plenty of room to stretch out and even take a short nap with the seat reclined. On the 737 MAX and 800, the extra legroom seats offer 34 inches of pitch, while the 737-700s can have up to 36 inches, which is quite generous. Standard economy seating remains at 31 inches of pitch. Southwest removed a row of seats on their 737-700s to maintain consistency, and the MAX and 800 aircraft have been reconfigured to match, which I still found comfortable. Before long, it was time for descent and arrival into Chicago. After landing at Midway, I got a look at the fully renovated gate areas. The old podiums have been removed and replaced with simple dividers separating the boarding groups, though they're essentially located in the same spots as before. Not all airports that Southwest fly to will have these new systems set up in place, so some airports, like you saw in Atlanta, are still using the old podiums, though they have taken the numbers off of them. For my return flight, the experience was nearly identical. The aircraft was almost completely full, unlike my first flight, yet boarding remained smooth and familiar. This time, I had booked an aisle extra legroom seat, and the experience was consistent with the first flight. The legroom was good, the seat was comfortable, the Wi-Fi worked fine, and the service was solid. One small heads up for extra legroom aisle seats. The metal seat frame does angle inward slightly, which can make storing a bag under the seat a bit tight. Overall, I think assigned seating is a positive change. After a few weeks, I expect most of the minor kinks to be worked out. I didn't personally experience any issues, though I'm sure Southwest will make small adjustments as the system settles in. Southwest operated with open seating for over half of a century, so naturally it's going to take some time to adjust. If there are a few things I'd personally like to see changed or tweaked, one would be having the overhead bins in the extra legroom section clearly marked as reserved for extra legroom passengers, similar to how other airlines handle it. I also think the cabin crew should store their bags and bins towards the back of the airplane or in a dedicated storage area, since using the first few bins creates a domino effect that pushes everyone's bin space further down the cabin, especially on full flights or aircraft that don't yet have the larger BSI space bins. Though, Southwest Airlines is actively retrofitting their airplanes to be fitted with these larger bins. I also think the process for switching seats once on board could be streamlined slightly. Some passengers were able to switch seats within reason in their fare class, but it seemed to slow things down for the flight attendants who had to stop, pull out their work iPads, and manually log each seat change. On other airlines, seat changes tend to feel more straightforward and laid back. That said, there are good reasons to keep a detailed and accurate record of exactly who is sitting where, so I do understand why Southwest wants to be thorough with it. That said, I really enjoy not having to check in exactly 24 hours before departure, rush to the gate for a specific lineup position, ask people what position they are or what number they have, deal with a large number of pre-boards, or mentally game out the best seat once I'm on the airplane. Even for last-minute business travelers, there still were some good seats scattered around the airplane that were available, including extra legroom seats, so if you're someone that tends to book last minute, I don't think it's that bad of a change. If you're someone with a disability that requires pre-boarding or you're traveling with small children, Southwest intentionally blocks several seats and rows on their aircraft to give CSAs extra flexibility to move people around if needed, even if they purchased a basic fare with no seat assignment. This isn't a guarantee that someone who needs a specific seat or to be seated together will always get one under a basic fare, and honestly that's part of the point of assigned seating, choosing your seat in advance to avoid this situation, but they do have systems in place to try to accommodate it when possible. All in all, with all that being said, I feel as if open seating had its time and I'm okay with moving on. I know everyone loves to say that Herb is rolling in his grave over these changes, but I disagree with that. Herb himself explicitly said, if you don't change, you die, specifically about changes like this and not falling behind the market. I think he'd be a lot more disappointed in how stagnant Southwest was in the 2010s than any of the recent changes they've done, which, if we're being truthfully honest, are pretty low bar, run-of-the-mill changes that practically every airline around the world does. I do understand why people are disappointed with these changes. Southwest Airlines was essentially the last airline holdout from a bygone era of air travel with open seating and everything being bundled into your fare. But time moves forward and it's a different world, and we have to accept that. I like these changes, and with everything Southwest has been hinting at, I look forward to see what the plan is next. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video. Let me know your thoughts on Southwest's move to assigned seating. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.